why China and Saudi Arabia have signed a $6.90 billion currency swap deal. Before we dive in details, please subscribe to the channel and stay always one step ahead to know all global important events happening around you. Give a thumbs up and share the video with your family and friends. Let's move on with the video, in a move that deepens the ties between the two countries. China and Saudi Arabia have signed a local currency swap agreement worth around $7 billion. This move comes at a time when many countries are looking to shift more of their non-oil trade away from the US dollar. The two nations' central banks agreed on a 3-year deal for a maximum of 50 billion yuan or 26 billion rials, according to statements on Monday, as per a Bloomberg report. China, which has been promoting the yuan's use in transactions with major energy and commodity exporters, is Saudi Arabia's biggest trade partner. The currency swap arrangement will help strengthen financial cooperation and facilitate more convenient trade and investment between the countries, the People's Bank of China said in a statement. The Saudi Monetary Authority said it reflects the growing collaboration between the two central banks. The deal is the latest sign of strengthening relations between Beijing and Riyadh. Though Saudi Arabia has long been one of China's main suppliers of oil, business ties have expanded in recent years, with Saudi Aramco investing billions of dollars in China's petrochemicals sector and the kingdom trying to attract Chinese tech companies. Chinese President Xi Jinping visited Riyadh last year, with the two nations signing agreements in principle valued at $50 billion. As per the report, they're also working more closely on geopolitical issues. In March, China helped broker a rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran. And on Monday, a Middle Eastern delegation led by the Saudi foreign minister traveled to Beijing for talks on de-escalating the Israel-Hamas war. In August, Saudi Arabia was invited into the BRICS grouping of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. It's expected to join in January along with 5 other nations, including Iran, the United Arab Emirates, and Argentina. Amid the de-dollarization move that is being taken in multiple countries across the world to reduce reliance on the US dollar, the latest currency swap deal between China and Saudi Arabia is on similar lines. Saudi Arabia is the world's largest oil exporter and a pillar of a petrodollar system established in the 1970s that relies on pricing crude exports in the US currency. While maintaining a peg to the dollar, it's now also seeking to strengthen its relations with crucial trade partners, including China, as part of an effort to diversify the economy away from petroleum. Still, Saudi officials have consistently played down the idea that the kingdom would start to sell its oil to China or other major importers in currencies other than the dollar. Oil and closely related products such as diesel, chemicals and plastics account for around 90% of the kingdom's exports. Besides Saudi Arabia, oil producers including the UAE and Iraq are exploring ways to conduct non-oil trade without using the dollar, as per the report. As more countries try to reduce their reliance on the US currency, China's swaps have grown in importance. Global central banks have used them to a record degree this year. The outstanding balance of China's foreign exchange swap lines rose to a fresh high of 117 billion yuan at the end of September, according to the PBOC. The Chinese central bank has 29 active swap agreements, with their combined quota at over 4 trillion yuan in total, according to its report last month. Also, Argentina recently said it would leverage a swap line to finance imports from China, responding to financial challenges linked to a sell-off in the peso. Brazil has taken similar steps. But it's not just about the immediate economic benefits. This deal signifies a deepening of diplomatic relations between these two nations. By entering into this agreement, they are effectively endorsing each other's currencies, a move that carries a lot of weight in the world of international diplomacy. Moreover, it's worth noting that this deal is not an isolated incident. It's part of China's broader strategy to increase the use of its currency in global trade. In fact, China has been actively pursuing currency swap deals with various countries, a clear sign of its ambition to challenge the dominance of the US dollar. But this deal is not just about China and Saudi Arabia, it's part of a larger trend. Yes, it's part of a trend that's reshaping the global economic landscape, a trend known as de-dollarization. But that's a topic for another time. For now, let's just say that this currency swap deal is a significant move, one that could have far-reaching implications in the world of global economics. This currency swap deal is part of a broader trend towards de-dollarization. But what does de-dollarization mean? Well, De-dollarization is a financial shift where countries lean away from the US dollar as a global reserve currency, instead favoring other alternatives or their own national currencies. So why might countries want to move away from the US dollar? Several reasons come to mind. For starters, the US dollar's dominance in international trade and finance allows the US to exert considerable influence over global economic policies. By moving away from the dollar, countries can seek to reduce this influence and gain more control over their own economic destiny. Another reason is the ongoing geopolitical tensions. As we've seen with Turkey, Russia, and China, these countries are seeking to reduce their reliance on the US dollar as a means of mitigating the impact of economic sanctions and trade disputes. Currency swap deals, like the one between China and Saudi Arabia, allow countries to bypass the US dollar in their bilateral trade, reducing their exposure to potential economic shocks. However, it's important to note that de-dollarization is not without its challenges. It requires building confidence in the stability and value of other currencies, which is no small task. The success of de-dollarization also depends on the willingness of other countries to accept these alternative currencies in international trade. What are the implications of this trend? Well, a shift away from the US dollar could potentially lead to fluctuations in exchange rates and global financial markets. It could also alter the balance of economic power on the global stage, with countries like China potentially gaining more influence. So when we look at the recent currency swap deal between China and Saudi Arabia, it's not just about facilitating bilateral trade, it's a strategic move that reflects larger economic trends. It signifies a gradual shift in the global financial landscape, a move towards diversifying economic alliances and reducing dependence on the US dollar. And there you have it. The recent currency swap deal between China and Saudi Arabia is a strategic move that reflects larger economic trends. So we've explored the recent currency swap deal between China and Saudi Arabia. Let's take a moment to recap. We delved into the mechanics of a currency swap deal and how it allows countries to bypass potential exchange rate issues and improve financial stability. We also examined the China-Saudi Arabia deal in particular, a deal worth $6.9 billion, aimed at boosting mutual trade and investment, while reducing reliance on the US dollar. Furthermore, we highlighted the broader trend of de-dollarization, a strategic move by nations to diversify their foreign exchange reserves and reduce their dependence on the US dollar. This trend is driven by various factors such as geopolitical shifts, economic strategies, and a desire for greater financial sovereignty. In the grand scheme of things, these currency swap deals and the movement toward de-dollarization reflect the ever-changing dynamics of global economics, with nations continuously adapting their strategies to safeguard their economic interests. Thanks for joining us today. Stay tuned for more insights into the fascinating world of global economics.